host, Chuck Juxer, and did I find a comic book for you today? It is called Hulk Gray. And when I think of Hulk, or the Gray Hulk, I should say, is there was a cover where you could see the Hulk working out with a heavy weight, and he's reading a book because Bruce Banner is ultimately in charge of the Hulk at that particular point. In this story, even though the Hulk was the original color in the comics, and he wound up turning green, I don't remember why, but if you do, please comment. Or when he became the Green Hulk. So Bruce Banner, in this story, it starts off with Bruce Banner going to a psychiatrist. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because I don't think Bruce Banner did like self-help books and, Zen books, and, he was doing mantras, and I mean, that would be a great storyline too, of just him learning that. But let's go back with this story. Let me get off the chart. So the Grey Hulk basically goes to the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist is none other than Dr. Leonard Samson, which is also a character in the Hulk series. So he goes and he's talking to Samson, the psychiatrist, and he's telling him about the past history. And he's like, yeah, we've already been through these discussions. We need to move forward. He goes, no, let me explain. There's some stuff I got to get off my chest. Either that or I had to get out the ring. That's what he told him. So he's telling the psychiatrist, he goes, listen, remember when it started off with the gamma bomb, that his friend Rick Jones was out close or near the facility where they're blowing off the bomb, and it blows up, but Bruce Banner winds up taking Rick Jones and takes the blunt of the impact. Nothing, minor scrapes and bruises. They go to the doctor's office, but then as time goes on, Bruce turns into a monster. The Frankenstein, as you want to call it, the Grey Hulk. And he's conflicted because he still has his senses, but then he's also like a split personality. So after Bruce realizes that he's turned into this monster, he's got the split personality, and he, all he wants to do is see Betty, the love of his life. He wants to let her know that he's okay, but he also knows that the way he looks like a monster and it's scary. And this is when General Ross was also looking for Banner, because to make sure that, he's like the prize, doctor that basically has all these weapons and stuff like that. He doesn't want to lose him, so he's also looking out there for him. And Betty is also looking out for Bruce, and then General Ross realizes that there's something going on more than they're just being friends. At that point, it's exposed at that point, because Betty's like, where is he? Where's Bruce? Where is he at? And General Ross just tells him to go home. Bruce is still getting used to his new personality, his new body, and then he winds up getting hit by a army jeep who's looking out for Bruce and crashes into him. And he just wants to be left alone. He's just, he had one hell of a day. He just wants to be not bothered. Just leave me alone. The word goes out, there's a monster out the location, and General Ross is on top of it. And he's like, hey, maybe this is the one who killed Bruce Banner. Like, he's already assuming these crazy thoughts. And Bruce winds up going to Betty's house. General Ross already had placed guards at her location for her safety, because this monster was out there that didn't know where. So Bruce goes to the house, and he's like knocking on the door, and he's like, he remembers these Frankenstein movies, and he's like, oh man, I feel like the monster, and I don't want to scare her, but he does knock on the door. He winds up scaring Betty. She passes out. He takes Betty away to a safer location, but he gets stopped right there, dead in his tracks, right by General Ross and all his soldiers. And General Ross, with no care for his daughter, because I don't know, man. I don't know what is his beef with his child there. I guess he wanted boys, hated his wife, and wind up getting stuck with Betty. You would think it's a princess, but he orders the men while the Hulk has her in a, like they got married, and he orders them to shoot at the Hulk with Betty in his arms. No care in the world. Hulk, realizing this, he escapes the location, but he's being hunted down by General Ross, and he's like, "Give me everything you got. I want all the equipment, and go talk to our main guy who does all our ammunitions and gadgets." So with that being said, the Hulk takes Betty to a location high up in the hills, high in the mountains, where she finally wakes up, and the psychiatrist is like, listen, we've already gone through this. He goes, you're not, the Bruce is like to Samson, you're not really a psychiatrist if you don't listen. He goes, you always do this writing down stuff, and now that I want to talk, you don't want to listen. He goes, listen, you brought me down late at night, I'm here, I'm listening, go ahead, continue. Samson says to him. He goes, all right, you cut me off. So Banner continues to explain that she wakes up, she's scared, she's frightened, all she wants to do is leave, and the Hulk doesn't have that much speech. He doesn't know how to speak properly because he's still learning how to figure stuff out. But at least Bruce Banner is in control of this Grey Hulk, you understand? And which is phenomenal. I like the Grey Hulk. I like when Bruce Banner is in control. I don't like the Savage Hulk. I mean, to a certain degree. Alright. So Betty wakes up, he starts talking to the Hulk, and he's like, what are you? Who are you? Why do you know my name? I just want to go home. And he's like, no, Betty, you're safe here. And she's like, no, you're scaring me. I don't feel safe. I just want to go home. During the course of that, this is where it gets crazy, because a robot comes out, but not any robot. It looks exactly like Iron Man, but in a yellow form Iron Metal Man. And the Hulk, the Grey Hulk, was like metal robot and everything else like that, but it is Stark. And the psychiatrist, Dr. Leonard Sampson, is like, whoa, time out. There is no proof, and now you're telling me all of a sudden that you had a fight with Iron Man, because Iron Man never met you until you joined the Avengers. And he posted all his stories and all his Avengers, the files, and he's like, can you let me finish? Again, it was Stark, and I'm assuming that it was Tony Stark's dad who actually invented the original Iron Man, the invincible Iron Man, because that is what I guess his father, can't think, Harold Stark, right? If I'm wrong, put me out there. Basically says, I am the invincible Iron Man, because he's an Iron Man shaped, and it's got not the pulsar blast, it's got 3 different things, but it's 100% like the original Iron Man suit that Tony created. So that is insane. So Iron Man at that particular point is fighting the Hulk to try to save Betty, and they're going at it. But the Hulk is literally just taking Iron Man and just tossing him left, right, like he normally does, and banging out whatever humans inside that, which is, I believe, Stark's dad. And Iron Man had enough of that and takes the Grey Hulk and he brings them towards space. He goes, I have the feeling that since you are living, you have to breathe. If I bring you to space, you're going to probably pass out. So he's flying as fast as he can into space, but the Hulk was waking up and realizing all this stuff and smashes the Iron Man's hand, falls down to the ground. Iron Man's shocked, like, oh my god, he's 100% dead from the height that he went. Like, we are like almost above Earth. He's like, he has to be dead. The Hulk winds up hitting the water, not land. Good for him. And he winds up grabbing Iron Man's suit by the leg, because Iron Man's trying to find the Hulk, and he beats the shit out of Iron Man. And he's just banging around left, right, like he's like a can of meat, literally. Like, the person inside the suit is just getting dinged around. And Betty's like, no, Hulk, please stop, you're hurting him. There's somebody in there, you're hurting him. He goes, he hurt you. He goes, no, he's fine. He's trying to save me. From who? He's like, he's trying to save you from me, but I'm trying to save you, but you rather have him. And he's like, and he's just still beating him to the point where Betty, like, literally tries to get so close to stop him. He winds up hitting Betty by accident. Betty winds up getting hit, and then she falls into a rock. She's bleeding. Hulk is like, this is insane. He grabs Betty up and tries to save Betty and bring Betty to a hospital, getting a first aid kit and everything else like that. And he does give her some band-aids and everything else like that, but she's like, Hulk, just leave me alone. I just want to be safe. And then that's when Ross comes with Apache helicopter, tanks, everything else, sees Iron Man on the ground. He was like, should we help him? He was like, nah, he's a big boy. Stark could take care of himself. So therefore, I knew it was Stark, but which one? It's not the original Iron Man. So Ross finds the Hulk again in the mountains, Apache helicopters, tanks. Hulk hates Ross, and he says it, I hate Ross. And he goes after the Apache helicopter, rips General Ross out of the helicopter, and he's grabbing him to squeeze him to kill him. And he's telling his men to shoot. And Betty's like, no, don't shoot, because he knows that the bullets are just going to bounce off of him and kill Ross. But I just think Ross wants to make himself a martyr, or he just wants to make people believe that this thing is completely evil, and he has like no rapport, no conversation with this guy. He's like, nah, he's a monster. And Hulk is like, I'm not a monster. He goes, well then put Ross down, Betty was saying. So then you don't kill him and you're not a monster. And he's like, I'm not a monster. And he leaves. And then he's all alone, he's by himself. He's not a monster. And then he's on a cliff and he's petting a bunny rabbit. And he's just happy that he has a friend to talk to, even though it's a bunny rabbit. And he's just petting his bunny rabbit and he's like, nice bunny. And then all of a sudden he's like, this is a wet bunny. And he realizes, he looks at his hand, he's like, oh man, it's bloody. So the doc was like, what does that have to do with any of this story? Like, why did you just pull literally a rabbit out of the hat during the story? He goes, to be honest, that was the first thing I ever killed by accident. And I won't want that to ever happen. And this is what I'm scared of. I don't want to accidentally kill anybody. That being said, please, for another time, we'll talk about that. But please subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you for watching ComicFinds. This is amazing. I cannot wait to do this full time. The journey is just beginning. Thank you and enjoy.